It's a tale of two continents. On one side you have Australia, the land of sunshine, surf, and seriously big mines. On the other there's Guinea, a small West African nation known for its stunning landscapes and, well, not much else. At least that's what most people thought. But recently something remarkable happened in Guinea that sent shockwaves all the way to the boardrooms of Sydney and Perth. What could possibly link these two distant lands? A railway. Not just any railway, but a brand new Chinese-built line cutting through the heart of Guinea's remote and rugged interior. This railway, you see, isn't just about transporting people or goods, it's about transporting power, shifting global trade dynamics, and leaving some very anxious Australians wondering if the ground beneath their mining empires is about to shift. You see, Australia, for all its laid-back charm, is a heavyweight in the global mining arena. It's the world's biggest exporter of iron ore, a key ingredient in steel production, and China happens to be its biggest customer. For years, this relationship has been mutually beneficial. Australia digs up the ore, China buys it to fuel its booming construction industry, everyone's happy. But then, this railway in Guinea throws a spanner in the works. Suddenly there's a new player on the field, and China, always the savvy strategist, is hedging its bets, diversifying its supply chains, and potentially reshaping the global balance of power, all thanks to a 125-kilometer stretch of steel track in a country most people couldn't find on a map. Australia's economy, let's be honest, is built on rocks, and not just any rocks, but the kind that hold the building blocks of modern civilization. We're talking iron ore, coal, gold, the stuff that makes the world go round. For decades, Australia has been digging deep, extracting these valuable resources and shipping them off to the four corners of the globe. And China? Well, China's been buying, big time. See, China's been on a construction spree of epic proportions, building cities, bridges, and factories at a pace that would make your head spin. All that building requires steel, and lots of it. And guess what steel needs? You got it, iron ore. So for years, it's been a match made in industrial heaven. Australia the supplier and China the insatiable consumer. This symbiotic relationship has made both countries very, very wealthy. Australia's coffers have overflowed with cash from its resource exports, while China's economy has soared to dizzying heights. But like all good things, this dependence on a single supplier and a single buyer has its risks. Enter Guinea, a country most Australians probably couldn't locate on a map, suddenly emerging as a potential disruptor to this cozy arrangement. You see, Guinea is sitting on a treasure trove of mineral wealth, including iron ore. And that railway? Well, that's China's way of unlocking that treasure chest and potentially changing the game for good. Building a railway anywhere is a massive undertaking, but building one through the heart of the Guinean jungle? Now that's a whole different ballgame. We're talking dense rainforest, rugged terrain, scorching heat, torrential downpours, and let's not forget the occasional pride of curious lions strolling across the construction site. It's the kind of project that would make even the most seasoned engineer break out in a sweat. But China, undeterred, saw an opportunity, a chance to tap into a new source of iron ore, a resource that is the lifeblood of its industrial might. So, they rolled up their sleeves, brought in the big machines, and got to work. The challenges were immense, but the potential rewards were even greater. For China, this wasn't just about building a railway, it was about building influence, securing access to vital resources, and reducing its reliance on a single supplier, in this case, Australia. The message was clear. China was willing to go the extra mile to invest in infrastructure projects that others deemed too risky or too costly, all in the pursuit of its strategic goals. And the world was watching, taking note of China's growing footprint in Africa and the potential implications for the global balance of power. Guinea, despite its natural blessings, has long been known as a resource-cursed nation. It's a familiar story, a country blessed with abundant mineral wealth, but plagued by poverty, corruption, and political instability. Think of it as having a winning lottery ticket but losing it on the way to cash it in. For decades, Guinea has struggled to translate its vast deposits of iron ore, bauxite, gold, and diamonds into tangible benefits for its people. The reasons are complex and interconnected, ranging from a lack of infrastructure to political turmoil and unfavorable deals with foreign companies. In essence, Guinea had the ingredients for prosperity, but lacked the recipe to turn those ingredients into a feast. The country's mineral wealth remained largely untapped, locked away in the ground, tantalizingly out of reach. What Guinea desperately needed was a lifeline, a way to connect its vast mineral wealth to global markets. It needed roads, railways, and ports, the infrastructure necessary to extract, transport, and export its resources. But where would it find the resources and the political will to build such infrastructure? Section 5. The West's cold shoulder, too risky, too costly. For years, Guinea, like many African nations, looked to the West for help in developing its infrastructure and unlocking its economic potential. But the response was often lukewarm at best. Western investors, wary of Guinea's political instability and perceived risks, were reluctant to commit the significant funds needed for large-scale infrastructure projects. The costs were deemed too high, the returns too uncertain, and the political climate too volatile. Western governments, focused on their own domestic priorities, were also hesitant to provide substantial aid or loan guarantees. The message, though often unspoken, was clear. Guinea was on its own. The West, it seemed, was content to let this resource-rich nation languish in poverty, its potential squandered. Section 6. China's winning streak, building bridges and trust. Enter China with a very different approach. Unfazed by Guinea's challenges, China saw an opportunity to secure access to valuable resources, to build goodwill, and to expand its influence in a strategically important region. China's strategy was simple, yet effective. Invest in infrastructure, build trust, and reap the rewards. Unlike Western nations, China was willing to take risks, to invest in projects that others deemed too risky or too costly. China understood that building a railway in Guinea wasn't just about transporting iron ore, it was about transporting a message of partnership, of shared prosperity, and of a willingness to engage with Africa on its own terms. This approach, often criticized by the West as exploitative, resonated with many African leaders who saw China as a more reliable and less demanding partner. And so, the stage was set for a dramatic shift in the global balance of power, all thanks to a railway in Guinea. Section 7. Guinea's mining boom, full steam ahead. The completion of the Dapolon-Santu Railway was a game-changer for Guinea. Suddenly, the country's vast mineral wealth, long locked away in the interior, was accessible to global markets. Mining companies, both domestic and foreign, flocked to Guinea, eager to tap into its newly accessible resources. Investment poured in, mines expanded, and production soared. The railway, initially designed to transport iron ore, also facilitated the export of other minerals, further boosting Guinea's economy. Jobs were created not just in the mining sector but also in related industries such as construction, transportation, and logistics. The government, flush with new revenue from mining royalties and taxes, invested in education, healthcare, and other social programs, improving the lives of ordinary Guineans. For the first time in decades, there was a sense of optimism in the air, a belief that Guinea could finally break free from its cycle of poverty and underdevelopment. Section 8. China's strategic triumphs, securing resources, shifting power. While Guinea celebrated its newfound prosperity, the completion of the Dapolon-Santu Railway sent ripples of anxiety through corporate boardrooms in Australia. China, by securing access to a new and reliable source of iron ore, had reduced its dependence on Australian exports. This strategic move had far-reaching implications, not just for the global iron ore market but also for the balance of power between Australia and China. Australia, for so long accustomed to being China's primary supplier of iron ore, was now facing increased competition. The price of iron ore, once a reliable source of revenue for the Australian economy, became more volatile, subject to the forces of supply and demand in a more competitive market. The cozy relationship between Australia and China, built on a foundation of mutual dependence, was being tested. China, by diversifying its supply chains and securing access to resources in Africa, had demonstrated its growing economic and geopolitical clout. The message was clear. The world was changing, and those who failed to adapt risked being left behind. Section 9. A New World Order, the Ripple Effect of a Railway. The story of the Dapolon-Santu Railway is a powerful reminder that we live in an interconnected world, where events in one corner of the globe can have far-reaching consequences. It's a story about resource competition, geopolitical maneuvering, and the shifting balance of power. But it's also a story about hope, about the transformative power of infrastructure, and the potential for developing nations to chart their own course. The railway in Guinea is a symbol of China's growing influence in Africa, but it's also a testament to the enduring human spirit, the drive to overcome challenges, and the desire for a better future. As we move forward in this century of unprecedented change and uncertainty, one thing is clear: the world is no longer a predictable chessboard where superpowers dictate the moves. New players are emerging, old alliances are being tested, and the rules of the game are being rewritten. The railway in Guinea is just one small piece in this complex and ever-evolving puzzle, but it serves as a potent reminder that even the smallest of nations can have a profound impact on the global stage.